and then we can get started. Question, Gautam? Gautamji, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think I've unmuted myself. So I think now everybody can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So just wanted to briefly, say a few words about Rotary. Rotary is a worldwide organization. There's about 6 million Rotarians worldwide. And Rotarians are essentially people of action. We are invited to be Rotarians. To be a Rotarian is to be a great honor because essentially it means you are amongst the chosen few in your profession who have reached a certain level and you are part of Rotary. Now, the thing about Rotary is it is purely voluntary. We do social service so that we believe we can raise humanity and people around us. Some of us contribute our time, some of us contribute money. There is no preset thing as to you can do this. The only thing is you have to have a desire to help people. We also have a famous 4-way test, which all of you should go on our website and find out about. As far as Rotary Club of Bombay West goes, we are located in Juhu and we do several programs. This is actually one of our programs in which we wish to educate and discuss common health issues with people so that they can take better care of themselves. We have a center for to helping people with for cochlear implants. We have a medical center in Juhu which helps treat people with for basic illnesses at a very affordable price. We also have a loan scholarship program to help needy students, and I think it has helped a lot of people over the last several years. And the reason for saying all this is, once again, Rotary aims to help humanity and people. So if you all know of students or anybody who needs help, please forward them to our Rotary Center. And this is done purely out of a sense of social service. We also are really pushing for organ donation, which means essentially donating your eyes and skin, subject to your permission, of course. And that is really something that is going to transform India. So that's my 2 words about Rotary and Rotary Club of Bombay West. Amar, I request you to carry ahead with the program. And I think everybody is very eager to listen to the main discussion and the panelists.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I want to start off with the saying or a song, a very famous song from this movie Iran, where the song goes by Chehra kya dekhte ho dil mein utar kar dekho na. And what has happened in last 1.5 years, you're not able to see the face anyways, and which is where you need to go deep inside. The part that I have learned in last 1.5 years, your skin, your body, it's all about what is inside that will come and show on that glow. Another great thing that I found when I was looking at all the 3 doctors that we have today, Dr. Kalpana Sarangi, who is the keynote speaker for today, and Dr. Sejal Shah, as well as Dr. Krishna Bhatt, who are the panel discussion doctors also for today. All of them have that radiance, that glow on that face, and that is the whole skincare. And what goes in comes on your skin. So one of the big things that has happened for all of us in last 1.5 years is, while we are completely focused on one big disease, we have ignored that care of the skin because we are just protecting ourselves with masks and doing other things. So today, what we want to do is share the doctor's knowledge of perspective. How can we do a proper skincare even in that era of masks? Whether you are inside your home or whether you're moving out, what should you be doing? And that's going to be the key discussion. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Dr. Kalpana Sarangi. Dr. Kalpana Sarangi is from Cuttack, Orissa. That's where she has done her medical education. She's MD in skin. In fact, all the three doctors that we have on the panel today, all of them are MD skin. Another part which is very unique about Dr. Kalpana Sarangi, she's written numerous articles, published multiple research papers, and she has been teaching and training, coaching at multiple medical institutes also on dermatology, which is a subject of her interest. She's also someone who has been associated with Nanavati Hospital for the last 26 years. In fact, she heads the cosmetology department of Nanavati Hospital. And the most unique thing that I thought Dr. Kalpana Sarangi possesses, apart from the treatment that she does on acne, on hair fall, on skin rejuvenation and others, is now, especially Olympics, made us all conscious and proud about the gold medal that our sportsmen have won. Dr. Kalpana Sarangi has won 2 national level gold medals for her research papers. So with a great respect, ma'am, we would really love to hear your thoughts on this topic today. Thank you so much. It's an honor to introduce you. Ma'am, sorry, we can't hear you. You want to unmute yourself?
No, we can't hear you. Kalpana,
you have a very musical voice like the last name, Sarangi, but we still can't hear you.
No.
No, not yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I think I have to do without my mic.
The problem is with earphone, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So very good evening, all of you. President Gautam, all my fellow Rotarians. I can see Saroj. Thank you very much, Amar, for the lovely words. And I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Timbadia and Dr. Sejal. At the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Gaurav and Bombay West Rotary Club for giving me this opportunity to speak in this forum. So let us go to the presentation. Can you see my screen? Aslam, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, you want to go into the presentation mode, doctor? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So like Amar has already mentioned, today I'm going to speak on skin care in mask era. So like all of us have gone through a very traumatic, very new, very different last 2 years. And we were very averse to using the mask to begin with. But now a mask has become a second skin. And we so automatically reach out for a mask. We don't think twice about it. We are very conscious. If we see a person within 3 feet of us, we immediately put on a mask. So it has become like a second nature for us. But what has this mask done to us, at least the skin? So this mask era has had a dual effect on the skin. Like how? That is because of the constant use of mask, we are getting some skin ailments, which is induced by the mask itself. And secondly, because we are using the mask so frequently, we are neglecting our skin, and especially its routine care, which is resulting in aggravation of the already existing skin condition. So it is like a double-edged sword for us. Now, before I go to my main topic, I'd like to just make you aware of a few things which my dermatologist friends will agree, that COVID-19 is not only confined to the respiratory system of fever and cough and other things, but it has a polymorphic nature of cutaneous manifestation also, which is clinically patterned into 6 categories, like urticarial rash. It is just for your information. It has nothing to do with my presentation today. Urticarial rash, confluent erythematous maculopapular or morbilliform rashes, papulovesicular exanthema, chilblain like acral pattern, livido reticularis, and purpuric vasculitic pattern, which is usually ulcerative. And it is not seen on the face, it is seen in other parts of the body and especially on the lower legs. Like, I'd like to share this very interesting slide. This gentleman, this was in the beginning of the COVID era, when I was not seeing patients in person, it was an online consultation. So this gentleman, he was a senior citizen, he's around 75. So they send his pictures, these children send me his pictures. And they said that he's been bitten by mosquitoes because he's sitting down in the garden. So this is the reaction, give us some treatment. I don't know why, I didn't know so much. We didn't have so many cases of cutaneous manifestation in COVID, but I did his RT-PCR before I started anything. And he was found to be COVID positive. Though he didn't have fever, nothing, no other symptoms of COVID. So I just want you to be aware that COVID can present in any form without even the classical symptoms of fever, cough, cold. Now coming to my topic of today. So I'll be talking to you what are the skin conditions which has been induced by wearing of mask, which I have seen in my practice. So these are the few things to enumerate. One is acne. I see a lot of acne, even adult onset acne also after use of mask. Pigmentation of the skin, rosacea, allergic contact dermatitis, urticaria, and vitiligo. So these are some of the conditions which I see in people who have been using masks for almost 2 years. So I'll show you some clinical pictures to make it interesting. This is a young girl of 22-year-old. This is how she's responded to the mask. This is acne. This is a gentleman who has allergic reaction. If you can see, if you can appreciate, he's got patches. Sorry. He's got red patches on his cheek, like over here and over here, which is very itchy and dry at times. And then this is induced by the mask again. Again, another young girl. It's a very typical sign of getting this type of red patches, which is dry, scaly. Sometimes it can be oily also, and fine, tiny eruptions over here, and it's sometimes itchy also. This is a lady. She's a 55-year-old lady. To begin with, she had a flawless skin. Very fair, very nice skin. But this is what the mask has done to her. She's developed pigmentation on both her cheeks. Can you appreciate the pictures, Gautam? Hello?
Hello? Yeah, okay, totally, doctor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, this is another young girl. She also developed pigmentation on her cheeks, as you can see, and very little, few eruptions of acne, but otherwise pimples. Otherwise, she's developed pigmentation. This is another case of acne. It's called rosacea. Usually, because of this is seen especially people who wear the mask and go out for walks or go for a run or go for to the gym and they exercise with the mask. This is what happens because of the heat generated inside and the sweating. It causes rosacea, that is a type of redness of the skin along with pimples. This is a very typical condition. I'm sure all of you must have realized and seen also. The mark of the mask lining just below the eye, you can see this is causing deep groove. Then there is like the skin forming, getting wrinkles, and there is pigmentation, and these lines are becoming deep groove, almost like a permanent wrinkle. This is a surgeon. He has to use the mask for 6 to 8 hours at a stretch. This is what has happened to his skin post wear of the mask. So this is one of the features of, and this I don't know why I see more in case of males, this type of deep grooves on the upper part of the skin, just below the eyes, you know, on the malar area. This is what is seen. Yeah, this is another condition where you see urticaria, that is called angioedema on the lips. And this is a case of vitiligo. Sorry. Case of vitiligo, I've seen like in 3 of my patients who have had vitiligo and they have been treated, that this lady was absolutely fine. She was without any lesions for the last 3 years. And suddenly she of course had COVID. Post-COVID, she developed vitiligo. So we have seen that in cases, people those who have had COVID, their vitiligo lesions, which was already like this white patch lesion or leukoderma, which was already cured, it's coming back again with a vengeance. So this is something which need to be noted. This is another very typical case which is seen with constant use of mask, especially ladies who go to work, and especially people those who are slightly overweight. They have deep grooves developed under the eye. Then there's a puffiness which is formed on the upper part of the face. So this is again mask induced. It could be because the lymphatic drainage from the face is little hampered because of the pressure of the mask, and especially N95 mask. This is another case of course, it's not because of the mask, but this is a typical case of how we neglect our skin because we are not going out, we are not socializing, we are not meeting people, so we just don't take care of our skin. So this is an adult onset acne seen in a patient of 55-year-old. She didn't have a single pimple, and this is what she's done to herself in the last 6 months. And this is again another typical case, like some people have, they sweat a lot around the mouth, and especially when you wear a mask, you sweat more. So what do, you try to dab that sweat or try to pat yourself through the mask. So you're causing friction in this perioral region, so leading to frictional dermatitis and frictional pigmentation. So this is called perioral pigmentation. So now coming to, can this condition be treated? Of course, we are all here to treat these conditions. It has been treated like any other regular skin treatment. So the treatment, the pattern of a program which I have selected for the post-mask era is, it consists of the following modalities: alone or in combination. Choice of therapy depends on the age, skin conditions, patient's desire and expectation, and financial consideration. Protection from extrinsic factors like ultraviolet radiation. Over here, I'd like to stress ultraviolet radiation is not necessarily only the sun. You can get UV radiation while you are sitting in the room with the lights on, with your screen time, like being exposed to the screens. And because of online consultation, online work, we are exposed to so much of screen time. That, and secondly, cooking also. Cooking does give rise to infrared radiation, which causes skin damage. So these are the things you have to keep in mind besides the sun exposure. And so you have to protect yourself from the sun by using proper sunscreen, caps, umbrellas, clothing if you're going out accordingly. And your daily skincare should consist of, besides the sunscreen, it should be a good cleanser, moisturizer, and a sunscreen. Daily habits, I'd like to stress on it. You should have a very holistic approach to your diet. You should keep yourself hydrated, have fruits and salads, and hydration meaning 10 to 12 glasses of water. I tell everybody to take. Do some form of exercise. I stress a lot upon yoga because that's helped both. It will help you both mentally and physically. And do some cardiovascular exercise also. Have adequate sleep, take enough fluid, reduce or avoid smoking and alcohol. Now, coming to systemic therapy, I like to give my patients proteins, iron, antioxidants, iron if it's required, and antioxidants. Cosmeceuticals like AHA creams which contains AHA, that is alpha hydroxy acid, tretinoins, hydroquinone, and vitamin C. Non-surgical treatment we do, like you can tell people to do massage for a feel-good factor, use face packs if it's a oily skin. Then we do iontophoresis, anti-gravity exercises to tell patient to do, microcurrent therapy, dermalage, lasers, etc. Surgically, chemical peels, cautery if it is required, dermabrasion, microdermabrasion. These are the type of treatments which we can do when we see signs of aging in this sort of people. And surprisingly, well, I'll come to that later. Now, coming to what we do in patients who come with acne, or people who come with mask-induced acne. So this is another case. And I see a lot of pustular acne, like acne, especially in younger people, I see a lot of these pustules, meaning pus-filled acne after using the mask. So, but why should we treat acne? Like you can say that because they are wearing masks, they have got the acne, and once they stop wearing masks, it will go. But acne should be treated to prevent scarring, decrease number of painful lesions, and minimize psychosocial stress and embarrassment. Because surprisingly, some people, those are very conscious, even if they have one acne and inside the mask, they're still conscious that they come for a treatment. So this is what happens if you don't treat acne, they lead to post-acne scars. So it is always advisable to go to your dermatologist or to your doctor and get your acne treated. So these are some of the treatments. I'm not going into details. If it is mild to moderate, I handle with topical applications or just do a small treatment or give systemic antibiotic. If it is severe nodular cystic or pustules, Then I give them various type of treatments, which we have starting from evacuation surgery, from comedone extraction to chemical peels and other laser treatments, scar revision, etc. So this is a girl who had come to me, young girl, 18-year-old girl. She had come to me with a patch of alopecia, that is loss of hair. And then she had a lot of acne, of course, and more so in her on her cheeks in the mask wearing area. So when we treated her acne, I mean, you won't believe the stress of that acne was causing so much of hair fall that patch disappeared automatically. This is another patient who had pustular acne. This is before and after treatment. This is what we do. We do comedone extraction. Then if it is pus-filled lesion, we nick the top of the acne and we remove the pus. And then after that, we do cryoslash, or you can do the IPL laser also. This is the same patient before and after treatment. This is a nurse in our hospital. She developed acne and with a lot of pigmentation, post-acne pigmentation. So we had done a glycolic acid peel for her. This is before and after the treatment. This boy, it was a very sad story. This boy had very bad acne, and because of the lockdown and all that, she couldn't meet the doctor. And so what she has been using, somebody had suggested, a beautician had suggested to use steroid. So he had used steroid, and you can see that he has lakes of pus under his skin. You touch it and he used to ooze out. There was so much of pus. So what we did, we treated him for acne. We drained all his pus. We put him on antibiotic. We did a lot of treatments and all that. So now you can see his acne is under control. There's no acne at all now, but he's ended up with very bad scarring because of the overzealous use of steroid. And because he was wearing the mask, he didn't bother much. But when he came to us, he was in this condition. So this is how he is now. He's much better, but then he has a lot of scars and we are working on it. I'm sure another year or so will give him a better result, better skin. Now coming to hyperpigmentation, which is another cause of mask-induced skin condition. So many people have developed hyperpigmentation. So, I mean, these are the various treatments which we gave, like avoid ultraviolet radiation, photosensitizers, like anything which has pigment, fragrance in it, like a perfume or a deodorant or any cream which is very heavily scented. Try and avoid it, because with heavy scented creams or lotions, you tend to get more pigmentation. Please use sunscreens and moisturizers, even if you're at home. Therapeutically, we use a lot of depigmenting agents, which is enumerated here. And then we can give peels, then systemically, like vitamin A, keratins, and antioxidants. I very sparingly use steroids, and the various surgical or treatment modalities which we do. I'll not go into too details into it. So whoever is interested can always call me up and ask me. Well, I have put the slide of a ideal sunscreen, because I have to stress that all of you have to use a sunscreen, especially people, those who are exposed to a lot of screen time, because we are sitting at home and working. And believe me, when sitting at home, we are working more than when we were going to office and working. I'm sure you'll agree with me, because your time is not limited. You keep on working from morning till late in the night. So you are exposed to a lot of screen time, and children are also hooked onto the phone, their laptop, their iPads. So please use a sunscreen that will prevent a lot of skin ailments. So your sunscreen, ideal sunscreen should have a 4-star rating. It should be broad spectrum, that is, it should cover UV and UVB radiation. If you're at home, it should be SPF 30. If you're an outdoor person, like you're going for runs or you're going into active sports, then it should be 50. Should be water resistant, non-comedogenic, fragrance free, non-oily, and non-toxic. Ideally, you should use the sunscreen every 2 hours, but I know it is not possible. Even I also don't use it so frequently. So even if you use it 2 to 3 times in a day, that should be good enough. Now coming to some pre and post pictures after we did the treatment on pigmentation. This girl had very bad post-acne hyperpigmentation. So we have done a peel for her. And as you can see, she was going for an interview in an airline. Of course, right now, they have held her interview. I mean, she's selected though. So when she went for the first call for the interview, she was rejected because of her skin, though she was wearing a mask and all that. So she came to us and we treated her. Now she's been selected, but the flights are not taking off now. So she's on hold. So this is a lady, she does a lot of cooking. So because of cooking also, like I mentioned earlier, infrared it causes pigmentation. So she's developed pigmentation and we are doing peels for her. You can see she's already, we've done 6 sittings. She's already done pretty well and we're expecting better results. This lady had developed adult onset acne with hyperpigmentation. So we did microdermabrasion with peel with her, on her. And this is her before and after picture. As you can see, it is cleared completely after 8 sittings. And we do 8 sittings after 2 to 3 weeks. This is another patient. Again, she's an outdoor person. She goes for her morning walks around 8 o'clock and come back at 9 without a sunscreen. And then she also does a lot of cooking. Because during lockdown, a lot of us have taken into the habit of cooking, baking and all that. So, and we don't take care of our skin. We think that we are at home, so we are safe. But that is not so. Even if you are facing the gas stove, please use a sunscreen, take care of your skin, hydrate yourself, use a good moisturizer. So this is before and after the peel. So coming to, besides the mask, which we have been calling the culprit since I started, we said there are certain other factors also which adds to this skin conditions in the COVID era. That is mental stress, the stress of the unknown, the stress of what we are going through. Everybody is going through so much of disturbance, both physically, mentally, financially, psychologically. So that is having its effect on the skin. Environmental pollution, it may not be necessarily like going out in the sun, but environment within our houses, like we are not used to working at home. So we are doing household works, we are cooking, and the stress of being at home is all adding up to our skin ailments. Sunlight, like I told, like people, those who sit in the balcony for hours together or go down, if they have a big society, go down and sit in the lawn. Nutritional habits, either we are eating too much fried things, we are not taking care of our nutrition, and our we don't, some of us have a very good holistic approach and some of us just let go. Alcohol and smoking also in some cases have increased. So these sort of factors, these are all factors which has given rise to early signs of aging. I have seen a lot of signs of aging in the last 2 years, and surprisingly people may not come for treatment of an acne or a pigmentation, but they want to get the sagging skin or the lines or the furrows fixed. I don't know why. When I've asked them, why are you so interested to spend so much money on anti-aging when you're not meeting anybody or not going out anywhere, you're wearing the mask? But they said, we're doing it for ourselves. So for that self-satisfaction, they come to us for getting their early signs of aging fixed. So what are the early signs of aging? You see dryness of the skin. I'm talking of facial skin, okay? So dull and uneven skin tone, skin darkening, loss of firmness, rough texture, sunspots, appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. So these are some of the treatments. This is a very basic treatment which I do. It is, we do ESS and iontophoresis, and then we follow it by microdermabrasion. It is a stepwise treatment and give a peel also, mild peel. So you can see the texture of the patient has improved. The complexion, the texture, the pigmentation has also improved. And this is I'm sure all of you must have heard of microdermabrasion. This is how we do microdermabrasion. So you can see the patient's skin has become tighter and she's looking brighter also. And some of her lines have also become less. Like, you know, the fine lines around her eyes and the forehead has become less. So there is, I have seen the furrows and the lines on the forehead has increased in these few months, because I feel some of us are reading so much on the computer, we wear specs. I have started frowning a lot. And so that could be the reason, you know, why the lines on the forehead, some people come with very early signs of aging, like lines and all that. So in this case, we do a little bit of Botox for them. This is our before and after picture. Again, another lady, the crow's feet. This is before and after. So crow's feet is the best thing to treat because you get instantaneous result. This is again another patient with crow's feet before and after treatment. And this is something people like to take care of the eyes because that's the only thing which is seen above the mask. So they want to do a lot of this brow lift, the crow's feet, frown, all those things they want to do. So this lady had come with early.
Start summarizing, and then maybe during question answers.
Yeah, I'm done.
Discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reaching my last slide. I just want to mention a little bit of this of the masks which are used. N95 should be USFDA approved, 3-ply disposable masks or 2235 GSM. Then there is a Thermasense reusable face mask which is available these days. You can use it 100 times. Like it is wash and wear. And if you're wearing a cloth mask, it should be a single or triple layer. People those are allergic to mask like N95 or a triple ply, you should first use this cloth mask, and on top of that use your mask. And people those are allergic to the mask material should wear a barrier cream and a sunscreen. So obviously the care is necessary, the protection from the UV radiation, nutrition, vitamins, daily skincare, cosmeceuticals, yoga, exercise, everything adds up to a good skin, and you can protect your skin and be safe and be healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So I'll tell you something. I was aware that okay, we need to be drinking a lot of coconut water is good. Juices part that you mentioned, I was aware of that. But one of the most surprising things for me was applying sunscreen even while we are at home. I definitely didn't know that that's a requirement considering all. And I work on computers a lot. So for me, that was one of the big takeaways that we need to be doing the sunscreen part. Okay. So now what I would suggest is, in case anyone has any questions about what Dr. Kalpana covered, please put it in the chat window. What we are going to now move to is the next segment of today. Last time also, all of you mentioned that everyone liked the keynote speaker, but at the same time, you got a lot of information from the panel discussion. And that's where we've got two esteemed doctors invited for that panel discussion also. We have Dr. Sejal Shah, who is MD Skin from Grant Medical College. She has been associated with Kaya Skin Clinic as a head medical advisor for more than 16 years. She's been practicing the cosmetology and the skincare part for more than 20 years. She has her skincare clinic called Visage, and that is where one of the things, as I mentioned, what is common that I see across all these doctors is that radiance of glow, and that's very much evident on Dr. Sejal's face also right now. It's the light that's coming from the eye, but at the same time, it's that radiance of the glow that is visible on all the three doctors. So, thank you, Dr. Sejal. Welcome.
Thank you, Amar.
Okay, and now Dr. Harish Tivaria. What do I say about Dr. Harish? Dr. Harish has been also someone who has done his MD in skin. He is also from Grant Medical College. He has been associated with this field for a long time, since 1984. And he's someone who's also serving an honorary position at the hospital at Borivali, Bhagwati Hospital. He is also someone who has done multiple research papers. In fact, one of his research papers won a prize at Dubai Dermatologist Conference. And Dr. Harish Tivaria is someone who has been involved in multiple areas for teaching cosmetology also. So Dr. Harish, Dr. Sejal, and Dr. Kalpana, thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. Dr. Harish, anything you would like to say before we start the discussion?
I must thank the Rotary Club of Jew, Dr. Gaurav in particular, for inviting me to be a part of this meeting. I love to solve your queries as much as possible. I say hi to Kalpana and Sejal. Kalpana, you've really been so good in talking. In 15 minutes, I must say that you have revised my entire dermatology. Apart from COVID, many more things I saw it. honestly speaking, there are very, very few diseases which have been exacerbated or caused by the COVID and the protection. However, they are there, and people should know how to prevent it and what precaution we should take. So we are here to enlighten you on that, as to what kind of precautions you are supposed to take. What are the things which are essential for COVID prevention? And if the disease occur, I think Kalpana has really covered the whole entire subject. One or two things I think Kalpana, because the consentment of the time she has not covered, is the folliculitis. Because of occlusion, there is a sweat retention. There is because of sweat retention, folliculitis, pustular lesions, and all I've been seeing in my practice. And secondly, the exacerbation of the sebaceous gland being blocked. There is an exacerbation of sebaceous gland activity. There is seborrheic dermatitis and sebo-psoriasis. They are the one which are very, very commonly seen in our practice. So I think we can start with the panel discussion, and you can ask the question to us and to all my co-panels and Dr. Kalpana Sarangi.
Sure. Thank you, Doctor. So, Dr. Sejal, first question is for you. What are the skin manifestations that happen due to the preventive measures that we are using for COVID-19? So Dr. Kalpana talked about masks, but I think all of us have been using very much of our hand sanitizers and so many other things. So what are some of the things that you see are the skin manifestations due to those preventive measures?
Right. So I think hand washing and sanitizer. So while both have been essential during this pandemic, so in my practice, what I started seeing right from the start of the pandemic, I would say, is mainly due to sanitizers. I think people suddenly started using a lot of them, and a lot of people were using sanitizers which weren't really standardized. So in some people used to come to me with just dryness, basic things. It was just dryness of the hands, a little irritation, sometimes itching. I've seen people coming with actual fissuring, which means small tiny cracks on the palms, on the dorsum, the back of the hands, around the nails as well. So a lot of it due to irritation caused by the sanitizer, maybe sometimes because of increased hand washing. You're not used to it and you start doing it a lot more frequently. Dryness because of that. What else? Exaggeration. So some of my older patients who were already having some form of an eczema or maybe psoriasis on their hands, they suddenly flared up because of the repetitive use of sanitizers and hand washing with different kinds of soaps and hand washers.
Okay. So these are all the skin manifestations that you see.
Right.
See, I can add something to it.
Right.
See, basically, hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. Basically, there are three measures by which we try and prevent COVID from getting COVID infection, and all starts with C. S, sanitizer. One is sanitizer, other is mask, where S is there, and third is social distancing. Now, a mask, I think Kalpana has really covered very well most of them. What I would advise is that whenever you're using mask, the most important thing is that we are using sanitizer for what? Because the bacteria, if they are there on the surfaces, any of the surfaces, if we touch our hand and then that hand is taken to the nose, then we are likely to get infected. Now, as long as the hand doesn't go to the nose, the disease is not going to occur. The virus, these viruses are totally inactive virus. They cannot travel in the air beyond certain times. And once the person is sneezed or coughed, the viruses are there on the non-living things like wood or iron. We still don't know how long they remain there alive, because there are various schools of thoughts. Some people say 1 or 2 hours. Some people say it stays for hours and hours, or 8 hours or 10 hours. We really don't know exactly as to how many hours they stay, So what my advice is that apart from sanitizer, because sanitizer are all alcohol based and they are going to cause a lot of dryness. And that's the basic cause of most of the skin problem like atopic dermatitis, psoriasis, contact irritant dermatitis, because I've seen many cases of contact irritant dermatitis, and some people who have got some psychological element, in them, they have delusion of that they are going to suffer from COVID. So they keep on applying sanitizer, time and again. In 1 hour, they apply about 100 times sanitizer. Every time they have a fear. And this has not been in a common people. I've seen this has been happening to a doctor also. One of the doctors has come to me with highly severe contact irritant dermatitis due to overuse of sanitizer. So that sanitizer, alcohol-based sanitizer are there. So what I advise most of my patients that instead of using sanitizer, better you wash your hands with soap and water, mild soap and water. That would prevent the dryness and prevent many other problems also. As long as you are not taking your hand to your nose, you are not going to get affected. Now, secondly, you said about masks. So I think masks, Kalpana has already covered. The social distancing has caused a lot of problem to the people, because they are not meeting people. There are so many skin diseases like psoriasis, neurodermatitis, lichen simplex chronicus, seborrheic dermatitis. These are the one which are exacerbated due to social distancing. Vitiligo slide Kalpana has shown. Vitiligo per se does not occur because of COVID or neither because of the mask. But if the patient has genetic tendency, then he is likely, he being under stress, vitiligo can get precipitated. Or vitiligo can occur because the pressure, constant pressure is there. Or chemical vitiligo can occur because of applying various chemicals. So these are all the diseases which could occur because of overuse of prophylaxis of COVID-19.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure, Kalpana, please.
Sir, I don't know, like we are seeing a lot of tinea cases, fungal infection, because people, those who are, even our therapists also, even doctors, all of us, we wear the PPE kit, or rather we used to wear it earlier. The first 1 year, all of us used to wear it for 8, 9 hours. A therapist are also wearing, even beauty parlors, they all wear, and other professions also. So many places you see people wear PPE kit. And only if people are wearing PPE kit and wearing mask, then only they get customers. So that causes a lot of fungal infection.
Agreed. Fully agreed. Yes. And one more thing, Kalpana, one more thing I have seen, people who have recovered from COVID. During the COVID, they take a lot of steroid. And steroid has given, because I myself suffered, and I was given 80 milligram of dipomedrol, per day. That comes to about 100 milligram of prednisolone per day. So this steroid is going to cause lots of problem post-COVID. When the patient recovered from COVID, that is the time when I have seen a lot of tinnias. Tinea exacerbation occurs because of using steroid. Then they get acneiform eruption, especially on the back and the chest. The person is not in that acne age, but still they get it because of the overuse of steroid. Apart from that, the diabetes exacerbation, a lot of other skin problem occurring because of diabetic exacerbation. That is all been commonly seen. Yes.
Okay. So, Dr. Siparia, you touched upon some of the aspects of how we can avoid or prevent ourselves from the, call it the overuse of those materials that we are using, which is be it washing hands too many times or using sanitizer too many times or getting your hands closer to that. Dr. Kalpana, Dr. Sejal, would you like to add any other things that we as human beings need to do to avoid any of the side effects, and how can we prevent? I think some of the portions that I really liked and some of the things that we are promoting through this medical series is how we as individuals, without having much of a medical knowledge, can prepare ourselves. Dr. Kalpana, you talked about yoga, you talked about using sunscreens and others. Similar way, for this overuse of sanitizer or hand wash and other things that we are doing, PPE kit, as you mentioned, right? That is very much necessary as a part of the business. One needs to get it. What are some of the things that one needs to do to prevent having those symptoms, those diseases occurring to them? Prevention is better than cure.
See, given a choice, I would first try and counsel the people. COVID is not at all that much dangerous. The mortality is less than 1%. And morbidity also is not even 5%. COVID is like any other disease. It is all the gimmick things are there that people are so much scared of COVID that scaring is killing more people than actual COVID. Like if you see the death rate of malaria or death rate of tuberculosis in India, it is much higher than COVID. But infectivity of COVID is so high, and that has caused the pandemic. It is the infectivity which is very high, not the disease mortality per se. So most important thing which we have to counsel our patient is that don't worry so much about COVID. I have suffered from COVID and many other people have suffered from COVID and they've all recovered. Some sporadic cases might have died, but that used to happen even pre-COVID era also. Some young people getting COVID and died. There were people, when COVID was not there, people used to die at that time also. Say like sudden myocardial infarction to a patient, sudden pulmonary embolism, pulmonary edema, people used to die. So those sporadic cases are there. It is like when you open a newspaper, you see so-and-so person died, so-and-so person died, so-and-so person died. All the names are enumerated. But those names are missing, those who have recovered. It is like giving steroid to a patient. Most of the patients who come to us, they are scared of steroid and they tell, doctor, please don't give steroid. When I ask them, what are the side effects of steroid? He say, no, I don't know that, but steroid is very dangerous. Why dangerous for him? Because he has heard that in the relation, somebody has developed steroid side effect and it was very severe. But what is the incidence of that? It is hardly 0.01%. 99.99% have recovered and they are alive because of steroid. So COVID also is one of those things only. So ask people, at least don't be scared so much of COVID. So much of precaution in spite of I have seen people with using all the time masks, all the time sanitizer, social distancing, not going out of the house. They would suffer the severest form of COVID because they were never been exposed to COVID at all. So they had no immune simulation in their body and they never produce any antibodies and they were the worst affected. So as far as the prevention is concerned, I think let other people answer, then I'll add to it.
Sure. Yeah. Dr. Kalpana, Dr. Sejal.
I agree with Dr. Timbadia. I think maybe initially, yes, it was a huge scare. And because we did not really know much about the virus and the disease, and all the information that was coming was mainly from China and Italy and all. But I think as we started learning more, and I'm sure our other colleagues who have been actively managing COVID cases would endorse that. I think it's not as scary as what it used to be. The infectivity, the transmission rate is still there. But with, I think, more and more people getting vaccinated, it is definitely kind of breaking that chain of transmission. So maybe too much of hand washing, not, but yes, if your hands are dirty, it's a very common sense thing that you have to wash your hands. You go out and come back home, wash your hands. But it doesn't mean that all the time that you're home, you keep washing your hands repeatedly because you are in a safe environment at home or in that one place where you are. You don't really need to keep using a sanitizer when you're at home or when washing your hands when you're at home. But yes, if your hands are grimy, they are soiled, definitely do wash them. Probably use a hand wash which does have some amount of moisturizing effect or agents in it. Sanitizer with a little glycerin or some moisturizing element in it. But it doesn't mean that you keep using it too repeatedly, yes. Mask, probably when you are in a crowded area, I think, yes, we should still probably maintain that mandate of wearing a mask. But when you are outdoors, where you have people keeping a distance from you, maybe you can avoid using one. So you can minimize the side effects that are caused by these agents by doing that.
I'd like to add one thing. Actually, I agree totally with both of you. And like Dr. Timbadia said, counseling of the patient is very important. One thing I tell my patients that be informed, but don't watch the news. And especially in the evening after 8 o'clock, switch off your news channel. It goes a long way because, we go, especially for older people, I've seen my mother, she's 84. I know how it is affecting her. It really does affect. So please stop using too much of, seeing too much of the news. And secondly, I prefer more of hand wash to hand sanitizer. And I ask them to moisturize the hand also as frequently, so that, you know, the dryness or the irritation of the sanitizer or the frequent hand washing can be alleviated. And thirdly, why I'm stressing on yoga is that keeps the stress level off. And yoga helps you to keep your mind cool, and pranayam also, like, so, you know, you don't stress about COVID, the phobia of COVID. So these are the few things I want to add.
So, a couple of things that I would like to ask. One, when this whole thing started, and I completely agree with all of you that it's that fear and a lot of, sorry for using that term, but a lot of marketing, because businesses wanted to make money, that promoted this whole over-usage of sanitizers. And people, I have heard and seen cases of people not only using sanitizers even when they are moving around at home, but also spraying things, which is Dettol has come out with so many products. So it's like those sprays antiseptic sprays that I would put in. ITC also came out with a product where you wash your vegetables with that, and everything, they only advertise it, 99.9% germ protection. I've seen people doing that, which is over. So it's not just using sanitizer for what you are doing, but it's also these things. How much of it one should be doing? Spraying the entire house with that antiseptic or washing all the vegetables with that? How much of that is necessary?
According to me, it is not necessary at all, because vegetable you are not going to use like that. You are going to cook it. Once you cook it, the virus is going to be dead. Where is the question of virus? Virus is not going to be there at all. Except that you are going to use, only thing what you will eat is the salad, which you are not going to cook and use it. So you wash it once with water, it is good enough. All the viruses will go off. You don't have to use any disinfectant at all. Now, the basic thing about sanitizer is the one which can kill only the bacteria, not the virus. The virus is killed by disinfectant. It is not a sanitizer which can. Sanitizer will clean it and only kill the bacteria. The virus is killed by and that is the reason why most of the sanitizer, they are putting alcohol in it, because alcohol is the one which clears the virus. So if you are cleaning just with plain water, it is good enough. You don't need anything for more than that. And except only for the salad. Rest of the vegetable which you are going to cook and eat, nothing is required. While cooking only, most of the germs are going to be dead.
And to begin with, like when IMA had put up a mandate, like we have to disinfect our clinics, our equipments, our how to disinfect your shoes, your phone, we have UV chambers to disinfect your phones, keys, and your watches, belts, all these things we had to follow. The first year was very difficult for us clinicians.
Yes, correct. Nobody knew it. Yes.
Agreed. The amount of things we invested in our clinics, I think they are just lying right now in storage.
Yes, we have to be careful. Yeah. There's no doubt about it, but not over-obsessed.
True.
The recent study has been published, and they have found that the virus staying on a non-living thing is absolutely doubtful. If that is doubtful, that means all your sanitizer are out. They are not required at all. Because in a non-living things, you don't see any virus. Because recently I've come across one article which was published in US. I don't exactly recollect now which article it was, but the article has clearly mentioned that they have not been able to be successful to collect the virus on the non-living things. Even in a patient who is suffering from florid COVID infection, the bed and these things surrounding it did not show any virus. So possibly, if that is true, sanitizers are not required at all, because the role of sanitizer is totally nullified. Nothing is required like that.
Okay. One of the questions that we have received in the chat is including antioxidant food in the diet, does it really help? So Dr. Sejal, would you like to answer that?
If you're asking me, is it helpful against COVID? I would say a normal healthy diet is good enough, including antioxidants as nutraceuticals. Probably yes, for overall skin and general hair and skin care, I think that would help. A normal, basic, normal balanced diet, I think Indian food usually does cover all groups. So I think that is usually good enough to take care of your skin and hair. Maybe if you do have some kind of a nutritional deficiency, which is causing some manifestation like say hair fall, hair loss, or maybe a little bit of certain nutritional conditions which affect the skin, then maybe yes, supplementation does make sense.
Okay. Dr. Kalpana, sorry, go ahead.
I think as far as the diet is, many patients are coming and asking me actually what I am supposed to eat to prevent COVID. You know, because COVID is like any other viral infection. So if you have a healthy, balanced diet, which contains enough amount of protein, because protein are the one which is going to create antibodies and they are going to fight against the infection. Apart from that, you have to have a good physical activity. You know, physical activity is very, very important. Like whatever you are doing, but staying at home and not doing anything, you are more likely to develop more severe infection. To fight against that, you have to do exercise, which should be at least half an hour per day or 1 hour every alternate day. Apart from that, these are physical activities I told about physical health. The mental health is equally important. So doing meditation is very, very important during COVID era. This is the one which is going to save you from many other complications. There are n number of diseases which occur or precipitated due to mental stress and worries. And I have seen some of the doctors also become psychotic because of this COVID. They have stopped practicing. They are now on ECT and under psychiatric care. So the mental health also is equally important to prevent COVID complication.
Got it, Doctor. Dr. Kalpana, question for you. Typically, and as I mentioned, the common thing that I see for all three of you is that radiant or the glowing skin. What should one do, not just for COVID, it's COVID and beyond, if I was to talk about, how can we get a radiant or a glowing skin, so like the happy, glowing faces that I see on the screen?
You already answered. Happy. You have answered. Dr. Timbade has already answered. You know, to have a good skin, like Sejal said, a well-balanced diet. Meditation is, I'm totally for meditation. Meditation, exercise, any form of cardiovascular exercise, yoga, and a basic regime of the skin, like you use a good moisturizer, good cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, and probably a night cream. And if you have any ailments, like if you have little pigmentation or whatever, then you use a depigmenting cream. But nothing like having a holistic approach towards a life. And I would suggest that, you know, in this COVID era, everybody find some little hobby. You know, whatever it is, it's beyond your profession, that really goes a long way to calm you down, to keep you focused, and to keep you happy. So diet, exercise, the general routine, skincare, and keep your mind happy and occupied with some hobby.
Kalpana, I agree with you. You sing very well.
Thank you.
In one of the picnic, you had sung a lot of songs. I remember that.
Okay, so I think we have come almost towards the end of our webinar. It's been a great 1 hour, and there are so many things that I picked up today from all of you in all the conversations. First, and as it has been published, multiple articles, multiple places, and read by multiple people. It's all here, right? And if you're able to control this, the other rest of the part will be easy for you to control. I think all three of you mentioned that one needs to conquer this for us to be healthy, glowing, and any of the diseases to keep them at distance. That's the first one that I can.
Shall I add one more thing into it? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
You have about 2-3 minutes?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. See, I look at this as life is a journey between birth to death. And the alphabet C is between B and D. So C is a choice. It is your choice how you want to complete this journey. Everyone on the earth has to complete this journey from B to D.
Yes, it is. I think the link between mind and the rest of the body is so vital. You know, it is very important.
So C is the choice. It is your choice how you want to spend this life. In that, I would like to give a few tips to all of you. C, there are certain C's are there. Not only C is a choice. There are 5 more C's are there to keep yourself very happy. Number 1 C is complain. Number 2 is criticism. Number 3 is cry. These 3 you should never do. Number 4th is competition. Don't enter into competition. So and so person has got so many things. I am devoid of that. Don't don't enter into competition. And always C is a compliment. When your colleagues or anybody in your family does good thing, you compliment it. By doing that, you are secreting your own serotonin. And serotonin is the happy hormone. Just now he was asking me as to how you have a glow on your face or happiness. You require a lot of serotonin for that. And serotonin is the happy hormone. When you compliment others, you get serotonin. When you do a lot of exercise, you get endorphin, which is again a happy hormone. When you love somebody, hug somebody, you get oxytocin, which is again a happy hormone. So this was one small tip which I wanted to give you.
I think, doctor, you're basically saying there's a Hindi song by now. It's called Old, but that sums up. You know, rote hue aate sab hasta hua jo jayega. Wo Mukandar ka Sikandar. So you need to have a happy attitude, happy feet, happy mind. I think is the trick for everything.
Right.
So I think it was fabulous. I think it was great fun listening to all of you. And I really appreciate you all taking the time, and I think just to watch your smiling faces itself is making us all feel good. And above all, as doctors, the effort that all of you have taken during COVID, I think I would like to appreciate that to the entire medical fraternity. So thank you. If anybody has to say anything, please go ahead. Otherwise, I think we are now.
Dr. I'd like to thank you for connecting me with Dr. Timbadia and Sejal.
So
same here.
I would congratulate all of you for tolerating us for such a long time, and thank you very much to connect with my colleagues. Dr. Gaurav was the instrumental in this. I must thank him.
Yes,
Dr. Gaurav's father was my teacher, and all those who are from GMC, Grant Medical College, would remember that Gaurav's father is a leading ophthalmologist, Dr. Yogesh Shah, who was our teacher, who has taught us a lot of ophthalmology.
Great.
Thank you very much, doctors, and thank you very much, everyone who has joined us.
Thank you.
Have a great evening and a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.